anyone else absolutely hate Dr. Gundry's? If you don't know who Dr. Gundry is, he is a former cardiothoracic surgeon who promotes a low carb lifestyle and also wrote the book The Plant Paradox, which produces some very pseudoscience information about lectins. And I want to talk more about that in relationship to the can of beans a day or the 2 cups of beans a day that's floating around too. Most of you know that I'm highly opposed to all the super restrictive diets and fad diets that are out there, and even ones that are purported to be like anti-inflammatory, anti-autoimmune, all of that kind of stuff. And it's because when you go to start adding foods back in, you have serious reactions because your body basically stops producing the enzymes that it needs to break down those foods. So let's talk about how that applies to the can of beans a day or the 2 cups of beans a day. So, the 2 cups of beans a day, some people are saying it's unhealthy for a variety of reasons. And this one gal went so far as to list all of the reasons why it's inappropriate without doing any research. And a lot of it is based on the book, The Planet Paradox. And that book just pisses me off. I mean, if you are going to tell me that healthy foods are poisoning you, I'm going to tell you that you've been poisoned and disillusioned by the fact that you believe that overprocessed foods are healthy for you. This gal went to post this information about why the can of beans or 2 cups a day are bad. I couldn't get it in one screenshot, so here's the rest of it. But let's actually talk about the science behind that and why the pseudoscience behind Dr. Gundry's book is also leading you astray, and how limiting healthy foods for your body is also causing a problem. So all of those beans that people are eating out of a can, I don't necessarily agree with that. You should be rinsing those 100% if you're going to eat them, but also those cans are lined with plastics, therefore allowing microplastics into your system. Whereas if you bought the dried beans and you soaked them for 12 hours and you were worried about oligosaccharides, which is part of the Fodmap diet, right? Um, Soaking them for 12 hours, you get rid of 75 to 90% of the oligosaccharides. And then it goes on to say in the research article from the National Institute of Health that if you soak them and then cook them for 30 minutes, you get rid of up to another 15 to 20% of those oligosaccharides. So if you're then having trouble digesting those foods, it's more likely that you're missing specific enzymes, which means that you also probably have a protein deficiency, and we should fix that. Mentioned that there's too much phytic acid. Again, if you soak beans for 12 hours, you reduce the phytic acid by 10 to 30%. And then if you cook them and discard the soaking water, you get rid of another 50%. So 30 and 50% gone, you're getting rid of 80% of the phytic acid, no longer poison. Okay, but what about those pesky protease inhibitors that prohibit specific enzymes from being present in your food? Yeah, let's talk about that one. So, National Institute of Health article, soaking for 12 hours causes some water-soluble proteases to leach into the soaking water, so you do need to rinse off that soaking water, right? Really good. But you also need to cook them for 30 minutes. And then there's another article from the National Institute of Health that talks about exactly that and how you can improve the enzyme activity. And again, if you want to get rid of that even more, because now you're down to like only 20% of that phytic acid being left, um, y you take a digestive enzyme. Okay, but what about saponins? Soaking the beans leaches that out. It is the foamy residue that forms on top. So you're going to want to soak those beans, rinse them off, put them in fresh water, soak them again until the foamy goes away. And then you've gotten rid of the saponins. And again, research peer reviewed from the National Institute of Health. And then let's talk about the lectins and how to avoid lectin poisoning from beans. Soaking dried beans for 12 hours before cooking initiates the breakdown of lectins, and then cooking them, you get rid of those. You get rid of them. It's the same thing when people talk about, oh, you shouldn't eat nuts because they have oxalates. Jiminy freaking Christmas. Soak them and roast them and you get rid of the oxalates. No, you probably shouldn't be eating your vegetables raw. You should be eating them steeped or slightly boiled because you get rid of the oxalates. Like even high oxalate foods, you get rid of the oxalates when you just soak them, cook them, steam them, whatever. So again, all these super restrictive diets and hearing about all of them and the misinformation being spread by supposed health influencers just pisses me off. If we make people so afraid to eat anything and then we ask them to eat healthy, what option did you give them? And then when you removed all of these healthy foods from their diet and you didn't replace them with other healthy foods and things that had these same vitamins, minerals, and essential things to their body to perform well, what did you do to them as a person? So the low oxalate diet a couple years ago came out, and people were coming into my office about 8 weeks after the conference where it was introduced. The low oxalate diet was introduced by someone very famous. And they're like, I have no energy, my hair is falling out, my nails won't grow, and I feel like crap. Do you know why? Because you were missing things that balanced the other products that were produced by the body when you took away those foods. For instance, you can't have broccoli on a low oxalate diet. Do you know that broccoli has two substances in it, one called DIM, one called sulforaphane, that's they support phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification in the liver. And for somebody that has issues with liver detoxification, you just took them off of that because it has high oxalates and you didn't allow their body to detox. Nice job. Know, for instance, that there's a food list of the highest oxalate containing foods, and it's 112 foods, 112, and it includes things like your brewed tea, your hot chocolate, even though we know cacao helps stimulate stem cell production. We know that, period. End of story. Peer-reviewed research. Your miso, which can be a great replacement for an electrolyte drink, your miso soup. Your tahini, uh, dried pineapple, dried figs, dried prunes. Also, all of those things you can't have when they're not dried because they're high oxalate. You can't have raspberries, oranges, dates, grapefruit, avocado, olives, kiwi, tangerines on a low oxalate diet. But we know that dates are a better sugar for 99% of the world than even honey. Are you joking? Are you joking? And you'd have to avoid pistachios, which we know are one of the most healthy nuts out there, period, end of story. And they have to be roasted to open the shell. So high, low oxalate at that point. Uh, Mixed nuts, cashews, almonds, pecans, all high in oxalates. You can't eat those on a low oxalate diet. Craziest thing for all of these is that the longest list happens to be vegetables. Vegetables and greens. A lot of these vegetables on this low oxalate list are the same on the lectin list, and you would be surprised. And it just irritates me when we're lying to people and telling them you should not eat this, period. It's poisoning you because it's not poisoning you. Your body, for some reason, is having trouble digesting it, and we need to find out the why and fix the why. It's usually an enzyme issue. You're usually lacking an enzyme. If we can fix the enzyme, we can fix the problem with the food. Do you know how enzymes are produced? Protein. Enzymes are very short chain amino acids. You want to know what improves GLP-1 production in situ or in the person organically without any support? Vegetables. Fiber. You're welcome. Again, if you're looking for help or support along your GLP-1 journey and you want to eventually be able to come off that medication because you know you want to actually heal your body, not just cover it up with hormone replacement therapy, click the link below, contact me, reach out. We'll get you started on the 6-week program. It's only $297.